in this lesson, we're going to go deeper into multi-timeframe analysis. So in the previous lesson, we did a little intro to multi-timeframe analysis, and I mentioned that a run on a higher time frame is a trend on a lower time frame, right? So we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. But at the end of that lesson, I also said that a lower time frame, the price action on a lower time frame develops the higher time frame, right? Or confirms the higher time frame. So we'll focus a little bit more into that in this lesson. We'll go deep into the whole explanation of multi-timeframe analysis. So I mentioned already, multi-timeframe analysis is extremely important to the way that we trade. Our strategies are built on multi-timeframe analysis, and all of it, from targets to stop losses, everything is built on multi-timeframe analysis. It's very powerful. And something to also note with multi-timeframe analysis is if there's nothing on a higher time frame, then we simply starting our multi-timeframe analysis on a weekly chart as an example. If there's no rejection on a monthly time frame, but there's a rejection on a weekly chart, so the multi-timeframe analysis starts on the weekly. Nothing on a monthly, rejection on a weekly, that's the daily chart confirming, right? That's the kind of basis. If there's nothing on a monthly, nothing on a weekly, but there's a really good rejection on a daily that's happening, maybe the daily chart's sitting at very epic support level, right? So then does the 4-hour chart confirm the daily? Does the 1-hour chart confirm it, right? Do the lower time frames confirm what the daily chart is actually doing, which is rejecting support, right? So what would that look like? If the daily chart's sitting and rejecting support, what should we see? We should see a trend change on a lower time frame, right? Same thing if a monthly chart is rejecting a 50 EMA, what should we start seeing? We should start seeing a trend change on a daily chart, right? That is confirmation. So that's it for the little intro. Let's hit the charts. So right now I'm going to show you a bunch of examples explaining exactly what it is, all the way from the lower time frames to the higher time frames. So pay attention to how it is that I actually break down these opportunities and how I do multi-timeframe analysis. We're going to go deep into it, and I'll show you a lot of different ways on how to actually read the charts and look for that confirmation. So let's have a look. So the first thing that we have here is an example that we already looked at a couple different times, right? So you can see here that we have this beautiful rejection of the monthly 50 EMA, decelerated on the monthly chart, right, with a little bearish inside bar right here, and then this bearish high, this reversal, and then that sparked this bearish run to the downside, right? And that was it right here on the daily chart. So you can see that during this period in time, that was right here, when we're looking at this daily time frame, we had this little wedge pattern, right, that developed in general. And let me actually make this a little bit larger for you so it's easier to see. There we go. So you just see the digits are a little bit larger. But anyway, so as this monthly time frame is rejecting this monthly 50 EMA, we want to see confirmation, right? So the first thing that we want to see is this bearish high this is happening. Does the weekly chart give us any bearish confluence? So at the beginning, it would just be holding this monthly 50. The weekly chart had a bearish engulfing, right? And as this bearish engulfing happened, the daily chart broke out of that ascending triangle, right? In this case, this is a rising wedge or an ascending triangle, really depends on what it is that you draw as resistance. To me, it's more of an ascending or a rising wedge just because of this recent high. But it broke out of this rising wedge to the downside. The weekly chart gave us a bearish engulfing, and that is what started this bearish hiatus on a monthly chart, right? And then it continued for the rest of the month, and the month finished right here, right, on May 1st, so April 30th. So you can see that we had confirmation about a week before the monthly gave us this bearish hiatus reversal, right? It started with this daily breakdown, and that is when the week closed as a bearish engulfing reversal, right? And then later, a week after that, the monthly chart closed as a bearish high test. So that is again confirmation from a higher time frame. So even if you saw this first, if you saw the monthly high test first, then you go down to the weekly chart. Does the weekly chart confirm this rejection? Does it have some kind of bearish price action? And yes, it has this bearish engulfing and some strong acceleration to the downside. Does the daily chart confirm it? Yeah, well, yes, it broke out of this rising wedge and continued lower to give us a lower low. Previous lows broke down, gave us a lower low, right? And at this point, we will be looking for a lower high to fully confirm that trend change. Now here's an example in real time, because right now you can also see that we're holding support. When you're looking at this monthly time frame, we are at support. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you something in actually real time, what's happening on the chart right now, right? How to look for confirmation, because right now this monthly chart is sitting at support, but do we have deceleration, right? Do we have a trend change? Do we have confirmation on the lower time frames that this level is actually going to be rejected? Because otherwise, if we don't look for that confirmation, we're just entering blind, right? We're seeing support and it's good support, so we think, hey, it should bounce off of the support and pop to the upside. But it may not necessarily happen, right? Therefore, we look for more confirmation. That's the beauty of multi-time frame analysis, right? Even if we have support and it looks like the monthly chart or the weekly chart or the daily chart is actually rejecting that support level, it may not necessarily reject it. But that is why, again, with multi-time frame analysis, we can look at the lower time frame and see, okay, is the trend reversing? Is the trend on a daily chart starting to reverse? Or is the trend on a 1 hour chart starting to reverse? Because if it is, then that is the confirmation that that monthly chart or that higher time frame is actually rejecting support. So when we come back to the chart here, when we look at this monthly time frame, we can see that it's accelerating pretty hard, right? But it is strong support. And we do have MACD divergence as well, right? So there is something here. There's a possibility this could go up. Does the weekly chart confirm it? Well, if we look at the weekly chart, obviously support is great, right? So we do have that support, 1, 2, 3 rejections, and this is where we currently are right now. But do we have any bullish confirmation other than support level? We don't. We don't have a bullish candlestick formation. We don't have any bullish price action. So we don't have any confirmation just yet. What about the daily chart? So if we look at the daily time frame, again, it's the same support level as on the higher time frames. We have it here on the daily, right there, triple bottoms. And then currently, check it out. Does the daily chart confirm this monthly rejection? No, it does not. Why? Because it's just consolidating sideways. There is no bullish price action, right? So what would bullish price action look like? It would pop to the upside, right? Maybe reject the 20 EMA, fall to the downside, give us a double bottom. And if we have this double bottom with some kind of bullish reversal candlestick, that is now confirmation that, hey, this level is being rejected on a monthly time frame, because the daily chart now is starting to develop a trend change. Now a confirmed rejection would be when we get a higher high, right? When this actually breaks out and we get a higher high, at that point, chances are we will probably have a reversal on a weekly chart, or we will probably be developing a reversal candlestick on a monthly time frame, right? So at this point, this is a little bit too early. So how can we trade this? We can still take it to the upside because it's obviously beautiful support, but it's not going to be long term. It's not going to be playing this monthly rejection or even the weekly rejection. It's just potentially, maybe we could play the daily pullback. But in order to play the daily pullback, we got to ask ourselves the question, does the lower time frame confirm what the daily chart is showing us? So in this case, the daily chart is showing stalling at support. It's actually decelerating. You can even argue that it's consolidating, because when we look at this 1 hour or this daily chart is just moving sideways for about a week. But does the lower time frame confirm this rejection and give us some kind of a trend change? Let's have a look. Right, so when we go lower now to the 1 hour chart or even the 4 hour chart, do we have any bullish price action on a 4 hour chart? Not necessarily. It's a lot of sideways consolidation. So I would say no. What about the 1 hour chart? Do we have any bullish price action here? Not really. It's just, again, a lot of sideways consolidation. So maybe when it fully breaks out here, right, it gives us a higher high and maybe even breaks the 4 hour 50 EMA. So you can see when it continues here on the 1 hour chart, you can just kind of follow the cursor. It would be breaking the 4 hour 50 EMA to the upside. It would be somewhere over here. At that point, that would be some confirmation, right? Because the 1 hour chart and the 4 hour chart would be giving us a breakout. The 1 hour chart would be giving us a higher high and then a higher low, rejecting the support level. And then that would be the trade long, playing the daily pullback. up to the daily 20 EMA as an example, right, to 1.23. So that would be going up to about right here. So that's kind of what that would look like. So once this 1 hour chart breaks out, it gives us a higher high. Then I'm waiting for this higher low, because at that point, once that higher high develops, guess what? This daily chart has a confirmed rejection. At this point, we do not have a confirmed rejection. We're still consolidating sideways. Let's have a look at another example. But that is why that is so important, because when you actually look at that, right, a lot of people will be jumping into this right now because the daily chart is stalling at support, the weekly chart is holding, the monthly chart is holding, but hey, you go lower and it's still too early. We don't have full confirmation. The 1 hour chart still hasn't fully broken out, or even from a higher time frame point of view, like the monthly chart. The daily chart does not give us any bullish price action to tell us that this monthly chart is actually going to go up, right? So if we look at another example, let's go right here. So pound CAD, we've seen this example a few times, right? That was recently in the previous lesson. We looked at it right here, and we'll look at this example even in more detail later on, because there were a few different trades I actually ended up taking here, which were beautiful. But monthly chart was once resistance, became support, bullish engulfing developed. So when this bullish engulfing developed, if we go a little bit farther here, check it out. So we have the bullish engulfing on a monthly chart. When that monthly chart closed, the daily chart was sitting exactly right here, right? So that is what the daily chart looked like when the monthly chart closed. What about the weekly chart? So if we look at the weekly time frame, jump back right to that time. When the monthly closed, this is what the weekly chart looked like. Right, so do we have confirmation here? Check it out. So monthly chart is obviously has a bullish engulfing rejecting this beautiful support. The weekly chart should have a little bit more bullish price action now. So if the monthly chart is giving us a bullish candlestick formation, the weekly chart should have a little bit more, and the daily chart should have a lot more, okay? So bullish engulfing on a monthly chart, rejecting support, weekly chart, triple bottoms, and this push higher, okay? So at this point, triple bottoms and a push higher, not much more. Daily chart, however, has a full trend change, meaning that we were in this bearish trend, low, lower high, lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, breakout, higher high, right? So now what would I want to see? A pullback to the daily 50 EMA, 0.32 Fibonacci retracement, right? And this is even some support on the weekly chart as well, right? It's the previous highs right here on the weekly time frame, which gives us pretty good support, right? So that lines up just a little bit below the daily 50 EMA region, roughly. So this is kind of what I would want to see. So at this point, I would want to make sure that this daily chart pulls back, rejects this level, because at that point, that would be a higher low, right? And if we get this higher low, well, that is a full confirmation of that monthly rejection, and then I could take this trade to the upside, right? Because this is monthly momentum now. Because this is monthly momentum, we're predicting, this is the thing. Whenever we have a rejection on a higher time frame, such as a monthly, right? We have this beautiful bullish engulfing in this example on a monthly chart. So I think that this has potential to go up for the next few months, right? Maybe the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe the next half a year, maybe even the next year sometimes. You're able to predict that on a monthly time frame. By looking at a daily chart, just the daily time frame, you won't be able to predict what's going to happen 6 months from now or a year from now. You can, but it's going to be very hard, because the daily chart, there's a lot that happens within a year. Within a monthly chart, hey, guess what? That's only 12 candles, right? To predict a year, you only have to predict a movement of 12 candles. To predict a quarter, you only have to predict a movement of 3 candles on a monthly chart, right? Whereas on a daily chart, I mean, that's a lot of price action. That's 3 months worth of daily candles, or 6 months, or a year. So that is, again, why we look at multi-timeframe analysis, because if there's something on this monthly time frame, a rejection, then that's a very big opportunity. That's a great swing trade or a long-term trade. So in this case, this monthly chart is rejecting, the weekly chart has this triple bottom, the daily chart has a full breakout, And when it pulls back here, this could be a long-term position. Why? Because the daily chart has now developed a new trend, right? The weekly chart has more confirmation, and the monthly chart has this bullish engulfing, telling us that hey, maybe a bullish run is developing. And that's exactly what happened. If we jump back again forward in time, let me take you back to that example. You can see here that again, the monthly chart went up. The weekly chart during that period in time right here formed this higher low, right here. So the weekly chart now had a triple bottom, higher low, and it continued higher. And the daily chart, same thing, right? Pull back to that 0.382 Fibonacci retracement, the daily 50 EMA. You can see that it's stalled in that region, and guess what? Formed a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, continued into a massive bullish run, eventually hitting that monthly 50 EMA, right? So that is that confirmation. Again, lower time frame confirms the higher time frame. Now check it out. I'll bring you back to current times, because again, right now when we're looking at this time frame, we're sitting back at that same support, right? So currently we're back at that same support. If you look at the monthly chart, we're roughly in that same region, but we don't have any deceleration. We're still accelerating to the downside. If you look at the weekly chart, same thing. 1, 2, 3, this is where that opportunity just happened that we were looking at. So 3 rejections, and guess what? Now it's the 4th, right? So we're stalling here, but do we have confirmation that this level will actually be rejected, and will we go to the upside? Well, if we look at the daily chart, we don't have any bullish price action just yet, 0, right? So what we would want to see is maybe, let's see, we continue lower to the extreme lows, right? Because that is again the extreme levels that we're rejecting here on a daily chart, the extreme lows. So we could still continue going farther, right? And at that point, maybe we'll form a higher high, right? Or some sort of a double bottom. We might even stall here, form a double bottom right at this level at 1.6 and pop up from here, right? And once we develop this double bottom, that's a little bit more confirmation, because a double bottom is again a first sign that we might see a bullish trend change, right? Specifically if we're sitting at these massive support levels. So a double bottom in this case will be the first example, the first sign of a potential trend change. If we have a higher low, even better. If we have a higher high, best confirmation we can get, because a higher high is full confirmation. It's in a bullish trend now, right? So that's kind of what we would need to see here. So at this point, the daily chart does not confirm the weekly rejection, and you can see on the monthly time frame, we're still clearly accelerating to the downside. So this needs more development. And I'll show you a couple, again, examples of recent price action. And you can see right here on this time frame, same kind of process. What we're going to do here is, again, multi-timeframe analysis all the way from the monthly to the weekly to the daily to the intraday charts now as well. So if you look at this monthly time frame, or we could even start on a daily chart. So check it out. The daily chart is sitting at the triple bottoms. 1, 2, 3. If we zoom in on this daily chart, we're decelerating. We have an inverted hammer right there. We have a beautiful lotus reversal. And right now it seems like we're developing some kind of bullish engulfing. We're accelerating to the upside right now as we speak. The weekly chart is also stalling at the support, and guess what? It's forming a low test. Right now it's Thursday, so the week closes tomorrow, right? So there's a really good chance that we could close as a beautiful lotus reversal and a double bottom on this weekly chart. And if we go even farther, this monthly time frame is stalling at this trend line, right? Trend line support. So we could obviously see a larger push to the upside. But to me, the monthly chart is kind of weird looking. It just has this trend line rejection, that's about it. But the weekly chart is nice, and the daily chart is really clear. So is this ready to take to the upside, right? Do we have enough confirmation to actually take this farther? So because we're playing this daily push higher, right, we need to know that the lower time frames are actually confirming what we're seeing. So we should start seeing some kind of bullish trend change on this 1 hour chart, or even the 4 hour chart. So if you look at the 4 hour chart, nothing yet. The 4 hour chart is still kind of in this pullback, right? The 1 hour chart, however, check it out. Higher low right here. So we rejected, formed a little bit of a support level right there. Previous low, lower high, lower low, popped a little bit higher, and then started stalling at this support level. So you can consider that this now a higher low, and now a higher high is developing, right? So let's draw ourselves a trend line maybe, see how that looks. So we even popped above this trend line, and right now as we're breaking above this daily 1 hour 50 EMA, the confirmation would potentially come in on a higher low, some sort of a higher low, right? So now that is starting to confirm. This 1 hour chart is starting to confirm what the daily chart is showing us, and therefore what the weekly chart is also showing us, which is this low test. Let's take it one step farther to another example here. And this is, again, a recent example. You can see that on the monthly chart, we're sitting at support, right? What was once resistance right here at 68 is potentially, right now, potentially going to become support. The reason why I say potentially is because we do not know if this level is still going to be rejected. We need more confluence. So does the weekly chart confirm this rejection? If you look at it, not necessarily. I mean, the weekly chart doesn't have any bullish price action. Maybe a bullish reversal could develop, such as a low test. What about the daily chart, right? So if we go on a day to the daily and we develop or put this horizontal level in here, because that is that same level from the monthly chart. Let's zoom out. There it is. It's these previous highs, right? Was once support, became resistance during this period in time, and now might potentially act as support again. But if you look at it, we don't have a trend change, right? So this would just be a daily pullback. That's it, a simple daily pullback, because there is no bullish price action. There's no double bottoms. There's no head and shoulder patterns. There's no descending triangles. There's no falling wedges. Right here was a beautiful rising wedge, by the way, and we'll chat about this example later. But none of that is being confirmed, right? So the monthly rejection is not being confirmed by the daily. So all we could get here right now at this point is maybe a daily pullback, and then maybe a daily double bottom or some kind of other bullish price action pattern. And at that point, the monthly rejection would be confirmed. But right now, this is only a daily pullback. So does the lower time frame confirm it? Not yet. Check it out. The 1 hour chart is still kind of trending downwards. It's still forming overall lower highs. Same thing on a 4 hour chart. We're still overall forming lower highs. So we do not have a trend change. A trend change would look more like we pop to the upside, and then we have a clear higher low, and then maybe a trade to the upside, right? But right now, there is no confirmation. The only thing that we potentially have is we're starting to break above this trend line. But again, we need a little bit more. We need a stronger pop, or maybe even a double bottom, right? And then a breakout. So at this point, this is still a little bit too early, and we need more confirmation. So that's kind of it for this multi-timeframe analysis lesson, the explanation of multi-timeframe analysis. We went a little bit deeper here, and I showed you how by looking at these lower time frames, we're able to confirm the higher time frame rejection, right? Even if we have a higher time frame rejection, we should be looking at the lower time frames to see if the trend change is changing, right? If the monthly chart is stalling at some kind of support, is there a trend change on the lower time frame? If not, then chances are we might only have a quick little move to the upside, but not something major from a monthly point of view, right? Same thing, if a daily chart is holding support, does the 1 hour chart confirm it? Does the 4 hour chart confirm it? If not, then we need to wait longer. And from a daily point of view, if the daily chart is sitting at support, like in this last example, right, then chances are we might get an entry. Right now, we didn't have that confirmation yet. The lower time frame did not give us that confirmation. But over the next few days, maybe the next 24 hours, maybe the next 48 hours, we might have that breakout, and we might get that trend change. And at that point, this daily rejection will be confirmed. So that's it for this lesson. We're going to be going much deeper into this as we continue with the strategies and continue with this masterclass. We have many more lessons to go through. This is, again, just a brief explanation of what multi-timeframe analysis looks like. And from now on, it's just going to be all the examples are pretty much going to be multi-timeframe analysis based. So that's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.